a graduate student making her way through school, surrounded by friends and family who loved her.
They were just trying to live life. They were trying to enjoy life.
But her political activism shifted her into dangerous territory.
Women's rights activists, if they are caught, it can have very harsh punishment. Sometimes you give your life.
And by following her personal beliefs, she became the victim of someone else's. What was your impression of him?
Very cunning, very calculated about what he says. You can tell you're dealing with somebody that's dangerous, somebody that's evil.
So his upbringing might compel him to remove someone who had strayed?
It became the reason why this man decided to have her killed.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Houston, Texas. The population of Houston is the largest of any city in the state, with the oil and healthcare industries powering a booming local economy. The shooting of a graduate student would blindside everyone in this city of many cultures. Multiple law enforcement agencies joined forces to capture her killer in a hot pursuit that involved fraud, family honor, and rage. Amongst its 2.5 million residents, Houston hosts an expatriate community of 70,000 Iranians.
Iranians, when they first migrated to the States, it was mainly places where there were great education hubs. They would go to cities where there were excellent universities, opportunities to study and to build their businesses, and Houston was one of those places.
And Gelareh Bagherzadeh was one of those people. From Iran, she had lived in Europe with stops in Paris and Budapest. She later joined her parents, who had settled in Houston. Her goal, a graduate degree in molecular genetics, investigating the behavior of DNA in different organisms. She worked at the MD Anderson Cancer Center at the University of Texas.
From talking with her family, they were very proud of her daughter. She was very smart, very intelligent, a beautiful girl. And her friends described her as a wonderful friend.
Late on a January night, Gelareh was driving home after spending time with her boyfriend. It was just before midnight. She was deep into a cell phone call when a phantom assailant rolled up nearby and began firing .38 caliber handgun rounds at her vehicle. One of the bullets struck her in the head, and then she was gone. So why would someone want to execute a 30-year-old graduate student in the middle of the night?
One thing as a criminal investigator, the crime scene, it tells the story. And it's so important that a lot of times you may only get one shot at that. When you make that initial scene and you go and assess what could have happened there.
The crime scene in this case was telling a story without a plot. An assassination with no weapon, no solid evidence, and no clear motive. However, the police inquiry did turn up a critical piece of information. The victim was a political activist and women's rights advocate, and she had spoken out in the public against the Iranian government.
For the past close to 46 years, Iranian women have had literally 50% of the rights that men have.
A prominent symbol in the women's rights movement was the traditional headdress known as the hijab.
The problem here is choice. There is no choice for young women in Iran. They cannot choose to wear a hijab or not. Once they get out on the streets, they have to follow the state-mandated law.
In the age of the internet, activists like Gelareh Bagherzadeh were more visible than ever.
The regime in Iran has not been able to necessarily stop the flow of information via social media because in actual fact, people are able to get on VPNs and they are able to find ways to transmit the information
Even so, Gelareh was well aware of the risks involved in her political activities. When a newspaper reporter approached her at a local demonstration, she agreed to be interviewed but withheld her name, worried about retaliation. Did someone hold Gelareh Bagherzadeh in enough contempt to have her killed? Investigators pursued the case for 10 months but found no clear answers.
Sometimes it's what we refer to as a genuine whodunit.
If detectives didn't catch a break soon, this whodunit might never be solved. Whoever slaughtered Gelareh was still out there somewhere, and police feared he was preparing to kill again.
A young lady had come home and found her husband shot to death inside her apartment. She talked about Gelareh being murdered back in January of that same year. I asked her straight up, Nesreen, do you have an idea who's responsible for this murder and the murder of your friend? And she said, I have a lot to tell you if you're willing to listen to me.
Gelareh Bagherzadeh had been dead for almost a year, and investigators in Houston, Texas were no closer to trapping her killer. No amount of publicity or reward money had brought the truth to the surface until the police received a phone call that turned everything upside down. It was a Monday afternoon, the start to a brand new week, but the end of everything else for a 28-year-old husband in Houston.
It was a reference to a male who had been found shot inside an apartment, and he was confirmed deceased at that time.
What happened after you got to the location of the murder?
Upon arrival, met with patrolmen who advised that a young lady had come home and found her husband shot to death inside her apartment. I was escorted into the scene to see what it looked like, what we had, and then we began speaking with the witnesses at the location.
Your first witness was the victim's wife. What'd she tell you?
And she had been at work that day, said she had left early that morning, a little before 6, and that he had stayed there at the apartment that morning. And when she returned home, when she opened the door and entered the living room, she found him there, deceased, and appeared to be multiple gunshot wounds.
As the detective and the wife, now a widow, talked into the evening, a name from the past came to light.
She gave me the story of Gelareh. She talked about Gelareh being murdered back in January of that same year.
Why would she even bring her up?
I asked her straight up. I said, Nesreen, do you have an idea who's responsible for this murder, and the murder of your friend? And she said, Detective Doucet, I have a lot to tell you if you're willing to listen to me. And I assured her at that time that we had as long as it took.
The widow was positive that her father had executed not only her husband earlier that day, but also Gelareh 10 months before. The reason? Police say the widow and Gelareh, who were close friends and classmates, had both converted from the religion of Islam to Christianity. Police say a decision that infuriated the widow's father.
There are two branches of Islam, Sunni and Shia, and then there are many other branches. There are religious sects in Islam, just as there is in many other religions, that strictly forbid conversion to any other type of religion. Sometimes even from Shia to Sunni. So it depends where you are and who says what is allowed and what is not allowed.
Police say the man suspected of making a widow of his daughter was Ali Irsan, originally from Jordan. They say he prided himself on maintaining strict control over his family and punishment for those who strayed outside of religious edict.
This is a person who thinks and reacts on a tribalistic level.
So his upbringing might compel him to remove someone who had strayed?
Gelareh, who was Iranian, who had been Shia, but who had then even gone one step further in converting to Christianity, which in Islam, no matter which way you look at it, Sunni or Shia, it is considered apostasy and therefore punishable by death.
Investigators bumped Ali Irsan to the top of their list of potential killers. Police say he had committed multiple types of fraud over the years, including welfare, credit cards, and cheating the Social Security Administration. Investigators decided to conduct a search of Irsan's real estate holdings.
We met at FBI Houston, and there was hundreds of people there that were going to be involved in those raids.
Another raid targeted evidence related to Irsan's hijacking of Social Security funds.
The FBI, their evidence recovery team, actually headed up the search, and that was, I think it was like 3 days. That went on for 3 days, and we recovered a lot of evidence, a lot of documents, a lot of receipts, a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of things that were very helpful.
Now it was time for detectives to invite Irsan into the interview room. But what he told them there didn't dovetail with the evidence they had collected.
In talking with him, was he very cunning, very calculated about what he says? You can tell that this person had some evil traits. As a police officer, you get a gut feeling, and it's something that alerts yourself within yourself that you're dealing with somebody that's dangerous, somebody that's evil.
Did Ali Irsan assassinate 2 people, including Gelareh Bagherzadeh? Backed into a corner, facing charges of fraud and murder, Irsan insisted that he was just a caring father who had done nothing wrong. When you locked horns with Ali during interviews, what was your impression of him?
But what I found in talking with him was he very cunning, very calculated about what he says. You can tell that this person had some evil traits. I mean, he just, you would get, as a police officer, as a detective, as a police officer, you get a gut feeling, and it's something that alerts yourself within yourself that you're dealing with somebody that's dangerous, somebody that's evil.
The district attorney eventually gathered enough evidence to head to court, and law enforcement officers headed out to the Irsan home to snap the cuffs on the accused murderer.
We actually worked with the FBI Houston SWAT team. They're the ones that actually went out and made the arrest. And yes, we were there, and we attempted interviews at that time with Ali Irsan, and he would fake a heart attack every time that we would try to go in and talk to him from that point on.
When Ali Irsan went on trial in downtown Houston, he took the stand in his own defense. While he professed his innocence, a platoon of family members testified against him, including his own wife.
What she explained was that as time went on, she had grown tired of his ways. She actually was the way she described it, she was ready to turn from that way of life, and she wound up turning evidence against him, which she was able to make a deal.
A grotesque narrative unfolded in front of the jury. Prosecutors said Ali Irsan's daughter and her close friend Gelareh had shamed him by converting to another religion, and that in retaliation and to make his daughter suffer, Irsan murdered his son-in-law, but he ordered his own son to shoot Gelareh.
Men, especially childless men, have to abide by what the patriarchal rule of the family is, That's why it's really costly for both men and women. It doesn't matter what gender you are.
Detectives say the son of Irsan was a chip off the old block, that he didn't appear to understand what he had done, and he thought his father was beyond reproachable.
His behavior was because of what he had learned from Irsan. I think he was like 18 years old. He was a kid. He was like everything that he said, it was almost like it was a recording. He praised his father. His father was a good father. He buys us things. He's good to us. He takes us places.
He and his son were clearly acting out of a position of tribal supremacy, and from a position where the modern life that they had been living in America, it had not made an impression on them, apparently, because no matter how much his children were adjusting and living and loving in the American culture, that was something that I guess Irsan never rubbed off on Irsan, I think.
So the news media referred to the murders as honor killings. Why? Because there seemed to be a lot of anger and manipulation involved.
I think religion can be used, and is used, unfortunately, by a lot of people for a lot of reasons in order to benefit, just as politics is.
If you're living in the United States and you have the rule of law, then the honorable thing to do is to follow that rule of law, and not flout the law in order to defend what you think or what you describe as honor.
Ali Irsan was sentenced to death, and his son was sent to prison for 40 years. They left the dead bodies of 2 innocent people in their wake, 2 people robbed of the opportunity to make their own choices in life.
That was taken away because of somebody that didn't like him, hated him because he didn't think the way he did. And that's really sad. That's what I took away from this whole case.
In her 30 years of life, Gelareh had seen many countries and many cultures, and had chosen her own path and purpose. But the world is not fair and is often unkind, and unfortunately, young women like Gelareh sometimes make the ultimate sacrifice for what they believe in. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. It is estimated that around 5,000 honor killings occur each year. Honor-based abuse is often a precursor that may escalate to murder. Victims may experience bullying, emotional or psychological abuse, restricted movement, stalking, or threats. If you or someone you know is experiencing honor-based abuse, go to the ahafoundation.org to be connected with a 24/7 crisis counselor. And for all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.